So, database management systems. Database management systems are those systems that connect together the user, the database, and other applications. And it needs to manage these things. So what a database management system does is enable the user to create databases, maintain them, analyze the data that is in the database by asking queries about the data, or create reports that give overview of the information that we got out of the data. And we can also manipulate data, insert more data, edit data, or delete it. So the database management system should take care that the user can do all these things. So data management is every discipline related to the use and management of data as a valuable resource in an organization. So this goes beyond the database management system, it's much more. And I want to go briefly into the terminology of different data management terminologies. So let's start with data modeling. Data modeling is a technique that you use to create a database structure. So imagine that you know you're going to have a lot of data about flight schedules, airports, departures, and customers, for example. So you have to think, how am I going to store this data? What will be the structure of the tables that contain this data? So what will be the fields or the attributes? And what is the relationship between them? And so as we've seen in the example before for the flight schedule, when we did data modeling, somebody decided that in order to represent the information from flight schedules and the airports, these tables were to be created. So we have a flight number, an airline company, a weekday that the flights go, and a price. And then in this table here, we have this flight number, which coincides with this one, such that we know that we're talking about the same flight, and the airport code that knows from which airport it's going to depart. So, data modeling basically determining the structures of the tables that make up your database. Then we have something that's called data administration. And this is particularly performed by a database administrator. So he has to make sure that he provides services to end users that use the database. And he has to handle these procedures for backup and recovery in case of that the system crashes, to prevent this data loss that we've seen before. And he also has to take care of data integrity, security, and privacy. Make sure that there's no inconsistency, and make sure that only those people that are authorized to see specific information can see it. And make sure that the privacy rules that have been installed are reflected by these security techniques. So then we have more data management, like data mining. Data mining is a process that is used to search and analyze big or huge amounts of data in order to try to find patterns in it and convert it into useful information that we can use to take decisions, business decisions, or political decisions even. So what we're trying to do is analyze data from different point of view, from different angles, and see if there's some information in there that we might not see from at first sight. So for example, fraud detection can be one. If we analyze huge amounts of data of what is going on, for example at the bank, maybe we can find some patterns that indicate that something is not totally correct there, and maybe there's some fraud going on. Or some other data mining applications are determining sales as a trend. Every time you go to the shop and you give your client cards for them to scan, you give away information about yourself. They know who you are, and now they know again what were all the articles that you bought. So they're going to see if there are some patterns there. What is being sold most? And maybe they could move it to a more specific spot where they can even sell more of it. So we can use data mining to get some information that determines your sales trend in your supermarket, for example. And then we have a terminology, data warehousing. Data warehouse is a repository of integrated databases. So it's different databases in a big warehouse. So data warehouses can be centralized locations, but they can also be decentralized locations. And the data is specifically stored in a warehouse because we want to archive it or we need to secure it. And actually this data is never removed. It will always stay there. And there's another word that's being used which is called a data mart, which is like a data warehouse but smaller. And normally then we're talking about data that is about a specific subject or data that's only being used by particular people. But it's like a small data warehouse. So after all this terminology on data management, in the next video we look more at models of databases.